Hello and welcome to the World News right here on Voice of the People Television. I am Chioma Innocent. We'll begin the news in Israel, where the International Court of Justice will today rule on South Africa's request that it issues emergency measures ordering Israel to halt its military campaign in Gaza, while the United Nations top court hears a full case accusing Israel of genocide. The U.S. and Israel have dismissed the accusations, and the ICJ has no power to enforce its rulings, although it could have far-reaching consequences. CIA Director William Burns is set to meet with Qatar's Prime Minister and the Director of Mossad this weekend in an effort to break a deadlock in talks for a new hostage deal with Hamas. The U.S. has reiterated its support for Qatar's role as a mediator after the Gulf state was angered by leaked criticism from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Nasser Hospital, which is the main health facility in the southern Gaza city of Khan Yunis, has reportedly run out of anesthesia and food. The Israeli Defense Forces IDF said it was intensifying operations in the area and has alleged that Hamas is operating from within the hospital complex, but did not present evidence for the claim. The United Nations has raised the alarm for hundreds of patients and thousands of displaced civilians trapped inside. Meanwhile, Yanomami leaders said today that the Brazilian government's effort to evict illegal gold miners from the Yanomami indigenous reservation in the northern Amazon has stalled, with outsiders increasingly invading the vast territory. The Hutucara Yanomami Association released a report on the year since President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva declared a humanitarian emergency and sent military and police to expel the miners. It said the situation remains bleak for the 30,000 Yanomami nation who live in the rainforest on the border with Venezuela, with malnutrition, disease and violence plaguing their communities. The report said 308 Yanomami died in 2023, in which 129 deaths were due to infectious diseases and parasitic and respiratory diseases. At least 7 indigenous people died from gunshot wounds in clashes with wildcat miners. In the meantime, Alabama has executed convicted murderer Kenneth Eugene Smith with nitrogen gas, the first time the method of capital punishment has been used globally. A witness told journalists that Smith trashed violently on the gurney and the execution took around 25 minutes. The United Nations has condemned it as cruel, but Alabama said the process had been carried out humanely. Smith was convicted in 1989 of murdering a preacher's wife, Elizabeth Sennett, in a killing for hire. In his final words, the 58-year-old said his death would mean Alabama had taken humanity a step backwards. Mike Sennett, son of the victim, said the family would not be celebrating, but that Smith had paid his debt. According to the Death Penalty Information Center, Smith is the first person to be put to death using pure nitrogen gas anywhere in the world. We will now move to France, where the government says it will push through a controversial immigration law in the coming hours, despite many of the measures being struck out as invalid. Most of the 35 measures rejected by France's 9-member Constitutional Council were added to the bill due to right-wing and far-right pressure. But the new law still represents a hardening of the immigration rules. Foreigners illegally in France could now be deported with criminal convictions. Even those who came to France before they were 13 or those who have lived in France for more than 20 years could be expelled if they are given substantial jail terms and deemed to be a grave threat to public order. Interior Minister Gerard Damanin said the Constitutional Council had validated all the government's measures and it was now time to put the law into practice. China has warned its citizens against exotic beauties seeking to lure them into the hands of foreign spy agencies. The Ministry of State Security said the Chinese man Li Si went to a nightclub while on an overseas trip and was later blackmailed by foreign spies. Analysts say such warnings reflect a sense of insecurity amongst the Chinese leaders. The Ministry of State Security, which functions as China's intelligence and secret police agency, has increasingly been raising the alarm amongst the citizens about the dangers of foreign spies. The ministry has also been making public the cases of people being arrested for espionage in China. Earlier this month, the ministry said Beijing had detained an individual alleged to be spying for Britain's Foreign Intelligence Service, the MI6. Still on China, the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has now revealed that a British national was sentenced to 5 years in jail for spying in 2022. A MOFA spokesman said a defendant named as Ian J. Stones committed the crime of illegally obtaining intelligence for overseas actors. The spokesman added that he had appealed against the sentencing, but the case was upheld last September. This was only revealed in a MOFA briefing today. According to an article by the Wall Street Journal, Stones worked in China for 4 decades with big U.S. firms like General Motors and Pfizer, and is believed to be aged around 70. The Wall Street Journal said he set up a Beijing-based investment management consulting firm some 15 years ago, citing corporate records, online profiles, and people who knew him. MOFA spokesman Wang Wenbin said the court had tried the case strictly in accordance with the law, adding that Beijing had fully granted the various legitimate rights and arranged for British officials to visit him and attend his trial. We now move on to the United States, where Donald Trump testified on Thursday in the defamation trial brought by writer E. Jean Carroll, but his much-anticipated time on the stand was kept brief. The former president, who has already been found to have defamed Ms. Carroll for comment he made about her in 2019, was under strict rules on what he could say. But he told the jury that he stood 100% by a deposition given in 2022, in which he strongly denied her sexual assault allegations and called her a whack job. Other comments he made were struck from the record by the judge for breaching the restrictions, which took significant time to agree before he took the stand. Trump has been testing the limits of the courts in his various legal cases that have become intertwined with his re-election campaign. It is a strategy which keeps his political base invested and tuned in and gives him considerable press coverage as he looks set to become the Republican presidential nominee. And the African leaders will converge in Rome this weekend for a summit where Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni will finally unveil a strategic plan aimed at redefining Italy's relations with the continent and curbing immigration. The so-called Mattei Plan, named after the late Enrico Mattei, who founded Italian energy giant Eni in the 1950s, has been billed as a cornerstone of Meloni's foreign policy as she looks to enhance Rome's diplomatic footprint. More than 20 heads of states and government will be in Rome for the event, which kicks off with a dinner on Sunday ahead of the official summit on Monday, where Meloni will present Italy as the natural bridge between Africa and Europe. While the details of the plan have been kept secret, Italy has said it wants to serve as a transit hub for African energy while stimulating investment in an effort to curb illegal immigration across the Mediterranean. The Prime Minister is set to outline an array of projects on Monday, ranging from health and education to infrastructure and agriculture, with energy lying at the heart of the plan. Rome has also said that 70% of its climate fund and investment program to promote international environmental projects will be allocated to Africa. We will now go on a short break and return with more stories. To stay with us. Welcome back. We continue in the United Kingdom, where King Charles III has been admitted to a private hospital for a pre-planned corrective procedure addressing an enlarged prostate, as confirmed by Buckingham Palace today. The 75-year-old monarch will undergo treatment at the London clinic, where his daughter-in-law, the Princess of Wales, is currently recuperating from abdominal surgery. King Charles visited Princess Kate after his arrival at the hospital. The palace issued a statement stating that His Majesty was admitted to a London hospital this morning for a scheduled treatment. The statement further explained that the king expresses his gratitude to all who has conveyed their good wishes during the past week. Having been diagnosed with a benign condition on January 17 following undisclosed symptoms, King Charles, who ascended the throne 16 months ago, took the decision to cancel engagement and prioritize rest before the procedure. In a proactive move, the monarch had announced the surgery in advance to encourage other men to prioritize their prostate health in line with public health advice. News of King Charles's treatment emerges amid a series of royal medical updates in the past 10 days. Kensington Palace announced on January 16 that the Princess of Wales underwent planned abdominal surgery for an undisclosed condition, with the palace assuring that her condition is non-cancerous, although further details were not provided. In Russia, tensions are escalating as Moscow and Kyiv engage in a war of words over the downing of a military transport plane, with Russia alleging that Kyiv's military forces shot down the aircraft carrying Ukrainian prisoners of war. In a tit-for-tat exchange, Ukraine expresses skepticism about the presence of prisoners of war on board. The incident adds another layer to the ongoing information war that has characterized the conflict between the two nations. Despite investigators reportedly recovering flight recorders a day after Wednesday's crash, the prospect of a clear understanding of the circumstances remain dim in a conflict where both sides frequently deploy accusations to shape a public opinion both domestically and internationally. The ill-fated 276 crashed in a fiery spectacle in the rural expanse of Russia's Belgorod region, bordering Ukraine. Authorities in the region confirmed the tragic demise of all 74 individuals on board, including 65 prisoners of war, 6 crew members, and 3 Russian servicemen. The aftermath sees a barrage of claims and counterclaims, with neither side presenting concrete evidence to substantiate their accusations. Russia contends that Kyiv downed a plane with 2 missiles, asserting that the prisoners of war were en route for a potential exchange. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov denounces the incident as a totally monstrous act, prompting Russia's investigative committee to launch a criminal probe treating the crash as a potential terrorist act. And in the heart of India's capital, thousands of spectators lined the ceremonial boulevard today to witness a vibrant parade commemorating the country's 75th Republic Day. The event, showcasing India's military prowess and rich cultural heritage, drew special attention, with French President Emmanuel Macron in attendance as the chief guest, commemorating the adoption of the country's constitution on January 26, 1950, following India's liberation from British colonial rule. Indian President Draupadi Murmu accompanied Macron in a ceremonial horse-drawn carriage, a relic from the British era, marking its reappearance at the parade after 40 years of being replaced by automobiles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, adorned in a saffron and yellow turban symbolizing Hindu nationalist colors, warmly welcomed Macron at the viewing stand. Let's go on another short break and we will return with sports stories. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching the world news right here on the Voice of the People television. In sports, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp is set to step down from the role at the end of the season, saying he is running out of energy. Klopp was appointed in October 2015 and his contract was due to run until 2026. He won the Champions League in 2019 before leading Liverpool to their first league title in 30 years in 2019 to 2020. 56-year-old Klopp has announced his decision, with his side top of the Premier League. Klopp is the only Liverpool manager to win the league title, European Cup / Champions League, FA Cup and EFL Cup with the Reds. He guided Liverpool to their sixth European Cup in 2019 when they beat Tottenham in the Champions League final in Madrid. They followed that up in 2019-2020 with victory in the UEFA Super Cup and the FIFA Club World Cup, and most significantly lifted the Premier League title. Liverpool won a domestic cup double in the 2021-2022 season and narrowly missed out on a quadruple as they were pipped by Manchester City on the final day of the Premier League season and lost the Champions League final to Real Madrid in Paris. And Brazil midfielder Joelinton may have played his last game for Newcastle United, according to manager Eddie Howe. The 27-year-old has been ruled out until May after undergoing surgery on a thigh injury. Joelinton is out of contract in 2025, and Newcastle are under pressure to comply with the Premier League's Profit and Sustainability Rules, PSR. 27-year-old Joelinton joined Newcastle in a £40 million deal from German side Hoffenheim in 2019 and has won 5 caps for Brazil. He has made 20 appearances in all competitions this season, scoring 3 goals. Newcastle's need to comply with PSR, formerly Financial Fair Play, has seen the likes of Joelinton and Almiron linked with exits this month. Callum Wilson, who United signed from Bournemouth for €20 million in 2020, has 18 months left on his contract. In tennis, Novak Djokovic lost at the Australian Open for the first time since 2018 as Italian fourth seed Jannik Sinner reached his first Grand Slam final. Serbia's Djokovic, 36-year-old, lost as Sinner regrouped from not taking a match point in the tiebreak. It earned Djokovic's bid for a record-extending 11th title and a 25th major, put him clear of Margaret. Russian's third, who is Serb, has won 33 matches in a row in Melbourne since losing to South Korea's Chung Hyun in the 4th round 6 years ago. Sinner's elimination of Djokovic means there will be a new name on the Australian Open men's singles trophy. Russian third seed Medvedev, 27, won in a remarkable second semi-final which lasted 4 hours and 18 minutes. And that is a wrap on the world news today. Do join us for more enlightening programs coming your way. Have a good evening and keep watching Voice After People Television.